So, guy said, you guys from EU call every few months and never have anything good for me. What do you respond to him? This is what salesmanship is. Trying to be a salesman or broker, this is where it is. And the answer to this question is it's all about your attitude. So you could say, yeah, that's exactly why I called you, because I realized that the wrong guys were calling you. And my clients don't say that, and I'm here to make sure you service right. It's something along the line. That's sales. This is what you want. You want to have a live person who's real, who's talking to you, leveling with you, and now you can open up. That's your dream. Your dream is to get it. You got this far. It's your salesmanship that's going to get you past this point to whatever the next step is to make things work. If the person answers my initial pitch, don't ever call me again. Is there a point to continue? Yeah. I will say the best point is, hey, you can practice. All your techniques and all your ideas and all your thoughts, you have the ability to practice on this person. So I would, same thing, don't ever call me again. Why? Why are you upset at me? Did I do something wrong to you? Like, try to practice breaking ice. Think about how you would feel if you actually will take this guy and turn him into a client. In your mind, you can do anything. That's the practice you want. This is like the showtime, is where you go from your business in. Guy says he needs a credit or warehouse line. What does that mean? It's not credit, it's a credit line. It's a warehouse line, a credit line. It's similar to a home equity line. So it's a home equity line on a commercial building. So if the person wants it on his real estate, confirm. Say, just like to be sure, like fact find. I just want to confirm, you want it on your real estate or on your business? If he says I want it on my business, we don't do that. That's a business loan, nothing to do with us, and we move on. If he wants it on his real estate, then you want to ask him, the next question is why? Because the reason why you want to ask the question is that why does a person want a credit line on his business? See, I understand why you want a credit line on your house. You bought a house, you have a mortgage, you paid it down, get in the mail offer for a home equity loan, doesn't cost any real money. For a rainy day, you have the money for a rainy day. If a person has a business, he has a rainy day for his business. I understand you want a credit line on your business. But why do you want a credit line for your real estate? Like, if you need $100,000 now, or $200,000, or $1 million, or $2 million, whatever the number is, why are you not locking into a mortgage? Why would you want a floating rate mortgage? What do you want the money for? If it's just security blank, like, what do you need it for? Many, many times, the person doesn't realize, because he's not into finance, when he thinks that he has a loan, and he has a prepayment penalty, and he doesn't understand the math, he goes, oh, I need another $800,000, so let me take a home equity loan, like a credit line. And he'll take it, it's like a second mortgage. The problem is, A, it's very, very tough to get. Because if I'm a bank, I'm not giving you this as a second mortgage. So the only one to get this from is your existing lender. So if I'm bank at ABC Bank, I go back to ABC Bank. It's the only one. So you're limited all your options down to just one choice. That bank, in many cases, they don't want to give a home equity line, a line of credit. The reason is they have to pledge the money to you. You have the right to take $800,000 or $1 million or $2 million. What happens if you don't take it? They have a cost of locking up money and not using it. How do they deal with that? So it's complicated on commercial for them to do it. So many times they don't even want to do it. But the most important thing is, why does the guy want it? And at the end of the day, the guy doesn't realize that if he plans on doing work and then just paying it off as a mortgage, he's probably better off refinancing the whole mortgage. He has $1.5 million first mortgage, $800,000 line of credit. Take a new $2.3 million mortgage. Because even if he has to pay the expenses on the 1.5, the penalties, but now if he looks at the total costs and the total savings and the fact that his rate is locked now going forward, not floating at 800,000, he could be put in a better situation because of it. But ultimately, if a guy says, no, I need it because I'm doing a one-time item on my building, I'm doing it, but I have a new tenant coming in and they're going to pay me back the money, it's going to lay it out for 6 months, it's very, very tough to get it done because you only have one shot, his existing lender. If he has no mortgage, then you have the ability to potentially do it. But what's the odds, again? You're getting someone with no mortgage, doesn't want to take a mortgage, just wants the option to take that money when he wants. It's tough to get because it doesn't appeal to a bank. They can't put on the books and make interest, et cetera, et cetera. Guy told me he's in Florida, single-family residential corp in an LLC. Can you do anything like that? The answer is no. You can refer it to someone you want, but we do commercial real estate. We finance 5 or more units or clusters put together. Obviously, in New York City itself, sometimes they will do a 3-family because it's a $3 or $4 million loan, it could be. But if someone's looking at a situation, a 1-family home, co-op, a condo, that's a residential mortgage broker, a residential bank that gets it done. When I call someone, when they call me back, they say, I'm returning your call. I usually say, oh, who is this? And that throws things off. How can I do that more naturally? How can I know who is calling? It's pretty tough. There's no right or wrong answer to this. So sometimes do the same thing I'm telling you in reverse. Play along with them. Say, oh, how are you? Thank you so much for calling. You know why you made phone calls to people. You called them about their mortgage. I called you up. I wanted to talk about your financing. I had a specific thing in front of me. I don't have it in front of me now, but I want to talk to you about your financing. It's broad. You answer them, and then through the conversation, you get things going. One way, don't forget you have the phone number, so you could go into the app and search by the phone number, and it could come up. You could, if you don't ask them, you're entitled to ask them what's your name again. You could ask them but you don't ask them what's the name again in the beginning, because then you don't know who they are. Like if you weren't cold calling, you know, if you made a phone call for something, I'm returning your call, you know who it is, because you only called one person that could possibly call you back. Your typical life, you do it once a day, once a week. But over here, you're doing it 100 times or 50 times a day, you don't know who's calling you back. So you want to just play along in the beginning and then winging it through and pray that it gets on track before it becomes a disaster. If I call someone, leave a message, and then they move their contact to a day later, and they call back, I have no way of updating the conversation on the app. Their contact is not there anymore. The answer to this question is email it to Tzvi, and I'll tell you how to use on the app the details of it, because some of these features, the reason I'm not answering it now is because these are things we're in the process of changing to make it easier to find them. But one thing is for sure, you might not see it for a callback date who's scheduled today, but you can definitely go to the search and type the guy's name, and he's going to show up with his calendar. The search is set up to pre-fill that on your list of who do you have to call today of people scheduled today. It's not going to show you next week's person. But if you go to the person's name, you could open up the calendar and see what he's supposed to call. What is the next step to make after someone told me that he wants to refine next month? And he told me to email him my contact info. And then when I asked him why he doesn't refi before rates rise, even more, he said it's private business. I know what I'm doing. So the last answer, there's no right or wrong. There's nothing you did wrong here. It's luck of the draw. Just as easily, the guy could have said, oh, good point, let me start now. Or he could have answered you normally what the answer is. Why people are going to react to people different ways, look at yourself. As much as you have a typical way how you answer people, there are certain times you answer out of the box, either nicer or more rude. Is there a rhyme and reason for it? No, just luck of the draw who called you, the timing when they call you. That's why a lot of times, I know myself, someone calls me and says, I can't talk to you now. That person hangs up the phone and says, oh, he's in a bad mood, he can't talk to me now. They'll call me 3 weeks later. Other people, okay, they'll call me like an hour later. Is now better? Sometimes, I just told you it's not good. But sometimes, no, yeah, now it's better. I'm sorry about before, it's perfect. There's no right or wrong answer. So I look and say, since there's no right or wrong answer, and if you wait too long, then it wasn't that important. If you wait too long, I tell people, my advice to everyone in sales is push the envelope. Every one of you is unique. You have your way, your style, how you do business. My point to you is go out into the marketplace and say, for this question, I could do it today or I could do it tomorrow. If you're not sure, do it earlier, do it today. I should call back the person 3 times before I give back the name or 5 times. Push for an extra 2. But if you think 8 times or 12 times, go for 12. I'm not telling you if the number should be 3, 5, 7, 12. I'm not telling you if you should wait a day, a week, a month. But if you in your mind are prepared to do it, wait just a day before you call back, I would tell you go for that. If you could push the envelope, go a little bit earlier in the day, then definitely do it. Always push the envelope, because do you have times that you lose out? It's not that you don't know if you lose out a game. Usually it's when you're a little bit too aggressive. You know you lost out because you're aggressive, and yet you don't know you win because you're aggressive. So for example, you push the envelope, the guy goes, because you're so aggressive, I'm never doing it again. Click. Your mental memory says, I call too often. I'm going to wait. But it's not like when you get the deal and the guy goes, I'm giving you the deal because you waited. You don't know it. You don't get the compliment, you only get the slap. So you don't know which way it works, and you have to judge it. I found overall, the clients and yourself prefer dealing with people that are more aggressive, they're going to push things through. If you don't get under the skin. And under the skin is not because how often you call, it's how you call. Like when I was in a zone of calling, I would say, like I said in a previous recording, I would say it's persistent diarrhea calling. I'm sorry for drowning your nuts. When is a good time to talk? Change up your message and humanize who you are, not from you reading from a script. Don't have a script. I met someone and said, okay, you left the guy 7 messages. You tell me message number 1. Hi, my name is Ira, calling from Eastern Union. Number 2, hi, it's Ira, calling from Eastern Union again. Again. Change it up. If you're the person, you know it's a recording. How would you react when you get messages from a person? The more natural sounding they are, you call them back. The more robotic, you ignore it. Right? When you have someone go through your emails, you have 50 unread emails. You probably look at it, but with the naked eye, you glance through it, and you can make 3 quick determinations. These are probably spam. You get rid of them. These are for sure good, and these I got to look at. That same way, how do you make the judgment call? Because things look like it's spam. Now, sometimes spam doesn't look spam. Sometimes, how many times do you look at the subject line, and based on the message, say, oh, this looks important, and you look at the name, oh, it's spam. It means they got you. They broke through the spam barrier, but you got stuck once they got blocked because they didn't know who the person was. That's the same thing by you. How do you get past the secretary and everybody? The further you get in before they realize who you are, sometimes, okay, you're here already, just stay here. There's rules and procedures not to let you in the front door, not to let you into the second door. Once you're there, the people don't have the same criteria to throw you out. It's a different book. They're coming throwing it out. It's like a lot of times also, you talk about complaints. Who complains in an office? If there's a complaint to a company, who do you call? You call the 800 number. Maybe you spoke to a supervisor. That lady who answers, that man that answers the 800 number, has pre-programmed answers and pre-programmed power they're able to do. Their manager has more power. Every manager level above, they can pretty much decide what they want. Because when they make a decision to give you back on your appliance the $50 or $200 on your appliance, they know people are calling them all day long. So if they get 10 calls a day, that's $2,000 they lose. So they make strong restrictions to the people at the bottom. So therefore, by knocking out 70% of the requests will get no, the people just move on. They only have $600 in requests. How many people push to speak to the manager? So you give the manager the ability to give away one a day without a question. The manager above the manager, for companies making millions of dollars, what's $200? Nothing. So I remember before the internet, before computers and sending things this way, I remember having an issue in the house with my father, an issue with like the GE equipment. And you call up the service department, this is the process, you wait 3 weeks, then called up to the president of the company, I wrote a letter, and I don't know, it was like 3 days later, someone came down, took the whole equipment out, put a new one in, they didn't check anything. Because how many people are coming in a request to the president of the company? Nobody. So for him, it could look good, and what does it cost him, $500? He knows that he would really do this for everybody who complained, but he thinks people take advantage of him. Like when there's an article that goes into the paper, 70% of people who fight their parking tickets win. There's a whole world who never fought their parking tickets also stop fighting their parking tickets because, hey, won't have to lose. Might as well write a letter back. There's a problem, and 70% just get adjusted. But how do they get to that number? And that's artificial intelligence. They get to those numbers because they run a survey sometimes. Like I say the story, there's a company called B&B Party Rental. And at one point, I rented chairs from them. And they came to pick up the chairs. Everything was great. They went home. And I noticed there were 2 chairs left in the house. So I called the company. So he left 2 chairs in the house. She said, oh, fine. Thank you very much. I'll have someone pick it up tomorrow. Okay. I guess I'm just curious. How come you can, notice the guy didn't count? He doesn't know. We don't count anymore. And checking out of the office? No. I said, why? It's crazy. So you don't understand how it works. We used to have someone check. And then fight with people, send letters and thank you this, and go back and pick up and fight. It's broken, it's not broken. And I made a calculation. I lost the whole year worth of broken chairs and lost chairs or stolen, whatever you want to call it, $32,000. I paid the person to be oversee the whole process $40,000. It was cheaper for me to lose the $32,000. Now, he says, look, people still call me, they update things. So everything is like that. So they ran this report. So someone was telling me they have a software that was used by AT&T or Cablevision where people used to call up and say the router is broken. So they used to go down and fix the router, check the router, and realize it's not broken. And they saved money because the router wasn't broken. You have to give a guy a new router. But they ran a study that when the person's complaint that the router was broken, you asked them the following 3 questions. Based on if the answer was positive to those 3 questions, 95% of the time, when they went down, they had to replace the router. So they changed the whole policy. If someone answered yes to those 3 questions, they said, you know something? You're a good customer. We like you. I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to go send you a new router right away. Customer's ecstatic. Wouldn't tell their friends that everyone gets it. They think they got it specially unique to them. And the company saved millions and millions of dollars of service costs. So that's Intel. It's the same Intel you're in reverse. You're that statistic now. You're making 100 calls a day. You're making 50 calls a day. You're making 25 calls a day. What percent of people can get through to? There's no right or wrong answer. There's a general mindset that people like to deal with real people, like to deal with aggressive people, honest people. Those things they like to deal with, not under your skin that become under your skin. Questions, comments?
So he tells us to call back in a month. What does that mean?
Okay. So in my opinion, if someone tells you to call back in a month, it's nicer saying go to hell. But what would you say? I say go to hell, hang up. You tell, I'm calling the bad nerve. What does a month mean? Understand why. If the guy told you, listen, this is tax season for me. I'm not thinking about anything until after tax season. I'm calling back in a month. I'll even focus on it. That makes sense. What else? Just calling back in a month. What does a month mean? Why not 6 months? Why tell me a month? Why not next week? So you got to ask the person the question, why? And I'm sure for the reason is, there's a reason it's not a month. And the month is a nice way of hitting snooze, and the longest snooze option is 30 days. Fine, I press snooze for 30 days. And that's how you got to look at it. If you focus on that, you understand that, then same thing every other reason. What? What's the reason for it? So someone explained to me an amazing, psychology technique as follows. And I did this concept once in the whole office on a year-end party, and it was a big growth the next year for this. Many times someone comes to you, tell a kid in school, what in your class, where do you rank from the best kid in the class to the worst? And the kid will answer 10th place, whatever the number is they answer. Yes, and then the most natural question to ask the kid is, why not you? Why you're not in 9th? Or why you're not in 8th? Why you're in 10th? Let's play for you, all of you. You're going to business, doing sales. There's an incentive in the office. The top 5 people are going to get an award. What place do you think you're going to come in? And you think you're coming in number 7 or 5. The next question that usually follows, why not 4? Why not 3? It's a mistake to ask it that way. The reason why it's a mistake is because you're now going to answer why you're not as good as the person above you. So with every question, every answer, you're knocking yourself. I'm not as good as this person because they have A and B over me. This person has C and D over me. E and F, go down the whole alphabet. However, why don't we reverse the question? You said 10th place. Why not 11th? Why not 15th? Why are you putting yourself at 10? They're going to spend the time answering you the opposite way. What do you mean 10th place? Listen, I'm better than that person. I'm better than this person. Once you build the momentum, I'm better and better and better. That's why you're stopping at 10. Based on that momentum, go straight to number 1. Go straight. It's the psychology of how you do it. The top brokers in the world are there because in spite of. When I ask someone, a new guy, and say, well, you're coming to work here? Why don't you become the number 1 broker in the office? Crazy. The guy's there 10 years in the business. The guy's uncles, the guy's family members, the guy this, the guy that. He started when the rates were whatever. For me, the other people come into the office with an attitude. In spite of the fact that he's been there for 10 years, I will beat him. In spite of the fact that he has a family in the business, I will beat him. In spite of the fact that he lives in a community that has a lot of real estate owners there, I will beat him. That's the difference. It's that drive of taking an attitude in spite of. And that's the drive you're going into things. So when you bring it down to the same technique and question here in sales, you can send the client on the phone a month. Why just a month? Maybe longer? He's not prepared for that question. Throw him off guard. So, no. In a month, because, well, you're right. Okay, let me be honest with you. I'm very busy now. You got to get the guy to level with you. But if you go to normal answers, there's pre-programmed answers. You tell him, why not 2 weeks? He goes, don't bother me, hangs up. Tell him, like, why not longer? If you need more time, he's forced to answer because he doesn't have a pre-programmed response for it. So I just want to show you the difference of, focusing on a sales technique. So I want to show you in just the mindset. A big part of sales is a mindset. So I gave you the example, why not number 1, why not number 20? And then based on the answer, you build yourself up. One of the top brokers that I ever trained, ever, is, they have this drive to be number 1. There's a lot of incentive programs that happen in an office. And I remember people said, you have incentive programs, you're running a school, you're in a great school, you're running incentives, and I have a youth program, you run incentives there also. Does it work? You don't know something? The reality is that people don't realize that's how the whole world operates. A true salesperson is not driven by the money. The money is a game. To make what you need to live, obviously you're driven to make that money. You need to live, your back's up against the wall, you're going to kill yourself. But why does someone care to grow from there? The number 1 thing is competition. It's being number 1. So the award, the prize, the incentive has to have a value that it's something, but the main thing has to do with being number 1. And you look at most brokers, they'll never tolerate, not that they're driven to be number 1, not that they care how much money they're making, they're never going to be number 2. They're never going to be number 3. If there's an incentive, they're always going to be number 1. That drive is not, they're not driven in the morning, I want to make $3 million this year. They're happy where they are, most people. But someone else is making more, no one's making more than me here. That's why when I worked on that year with the numbers, is I took out a deck of cards. They made up a deck of cards. Instead of the deck, each card had someone else's picture in the office with a number on it. And he took the deck, everyone had a deck of cards. He took the deck of cards and he said, look at the whole deck. There's 52 cards in the deck, whatever the number of people are working with them. Go through the deck of cards. And by looking at the deck, just your own gut and opinion, who's better than you, who's worse than you? Put to the right who's better, and who's to the left who's worse. Go through the deck, and what place are you in? And then send in the number what place you're in. So I'm saying, based on the deck, next year I'll be in place 13. This guy said number 7, number 5, number 2. And the focus point we did the whole entire year, I mean, it didn't take the whole year because I got the message after a few months. The focus point was showing people what place they're in compared to what they hold. See, if I told you, you have what it takes to be number one, it's Ari, you're pumping me up, but you don't really believe it. I don't believe it. That's what you're telling me. Or you could believe it, but not to make that kind of money. You know, the draw. There's things we could differ. But if you made up your mind that if the group you're coming in with, you're going to be number 6, there is no way in hell you're going to let yourself be number 7, because you're never going to let yourself down. Most people are where they are. It's because they decide, you know, I'm really happy here, or I'm fine being number 46 in the company. It's only because they can't fail that way. The top producers put themselves in a situation to fail. They publicly say, I'll be in the top 10. And they kill themselves to make sure they're in the top 10. I'll be in the top 5, I'll be in the top 3. I will be number 1. My job as running a company, as a sales organization, is to get 3 people to compete to be number 1. The production that will come from those 3 people will be head and shoulders off to everyone else in the office. Because they have what it takes to be in that league, and they're not going to stop at anything in order to compete with each other to be number 1 in a positive light. So when they came out with the numbers, I'm number 13. I know the whole year, listen, I know you said you'd be number 13, but I'm pacing to be number 16. That was more powerful than any other motivation I could give, because they made up their mind they're going to be 13, not letting anyone beat them. And my job the rest of the year was to find 13 other people instead of 14 alone. And that created the competition at that type of level. So one of these people that I trained, they're driven by just being number 1. So where's the understanding? You ever went to Dave & Buster's? So most people go to Dave & Buster's, either totally socially, they go to the play and they go home. Other people go to a little bit level of competition. They go there, they find the games, you get tickets. They have in mind they want to win some prize, whatever it is like that. Just not the prize not worth the money, but there's something. I went there, I got a prize, this is what I won. Everyone has a different thing how they work. You play skee ball. Skee ball is set up that, if you notice across how the whole thing is set up that, and then next time you go, you'll notice it, is that every time someone puts in a coin, there's a jackpot at the top. Most people don't notice it. The way the game goes is you get 9 balls you have to throw up. And if you get more than the most you can get is, in theory, there's 100 circles. So it's possible to get 900 points. The most you can get, if you get 350 points or 450 points, then I think 450 points, you win the jackpot. So aside from the normal tickets, you get every amount of points, you get tickets, and you trade it in for a prize. But whoever gets 450 points is a jackpot. How does the jackpot work? Every time someone plays, there's usually like 9 or 10 games there. Every time someone plays, the jackpot moves up 1 number. So if you go there now, probably you'll see a jackpot like 5,000 points. It's a crazy number because no one's winning. Most people play, watch how most people play. In order to get tickets, you have to have at least 200 points. So they shoot for the area. If they don't get 50 points, they get 40. Not 40, then 30. 30, not 20. 10. You shoot for the 100 in the top left corner and you miss, you get 0 points. You get 10 points. So what happens is, it's very possible, if you're going to shoot for that the whole time, you can end up with 90 points or 900 points. So this person comes there once every 2 months, and he only plays for the 450. He sits by the machine, and he's shooting to get to the 100. And people next to him are looking like he's crazy. Hello, he's wasting so much money, not getting any tickets. And in his mind, he's laughing at them. I appreciate you gave me your ticket. I appreciate you gave me your ticket. He could sit there for an hour and a half. He ends up getting it. Within an hour and a half, you're shooting for one thing long enough, you're going to get it done. He gets it, wins the jackpot, goes home. But that's not even how he started. He started by walking in day 1 to Dave & Buster's, walking into that room and saying, what's the biggest prize they have? The lady says, don't waste time. No one wins that. I'm winning it. I will be the person that wins it. That's personality. That's the mindset of sales. So you're going into sales, your mindset is, yeah, can you be happy making a living? But the mindset is, that's what your mindset is, that you have a goal to either I want to be number 1 or a goal that I can't fail. If you're not passionate about one of those 2 goalposts, you're never going to make it in sales. Can you be taught different things? Yes, but you can't be taught passion. You can't be taught drive to say, I'm going to be number 1. And that's why a lot of times where people ask me where the company started growing at a much faster pace over the last few years is because when I only had an office where there were one person head and shoulders over the next. So people came in very comfortable. Okay, I'm not him, but I'm like in the same group as everybody else. But as time went on, they were able to sit down with someone and have this conversation in spite of conversation and say, how come you can't be number 1? How come you can't be in the top 10? What do you mean? And give all the negatives. I had enough backup to show you that all your myths don't exist. Oh, you think you don't talk right? Guy number 8 can barely talk. Guy number 7, he doesn't know anything about numbers. Guy number 4, and you break down all 10, there's no reason why you can't do it. So when everyone fit the mold in the top for you, it's a tougher fight. You have to be passionate enough to get there. But as time progressed, you could look at the group and you see there's no common ground under. The biggest common ground under is the drive. It's not when they came in. They all came in at all different times. It's not like, oh, the guy number one, oh, you think it's because you just came yesterday. He's here the longest. No, it's not the guy number one is here the longest, guy number two, second longest, third. It doesn't work that way. It has nothing to do with it. And once you start breaking out of that myth, break out of that shell that you set for yourself and you said to yourself, this is me, and you put up boxes around you. And that's why most people, when they ask them to go into sales, their answer is, how could I be number one? How could I be number 10? No, I'm good for being number 26. So you're always going to feel good about yourself because you set a bar very low. You're willing to go out there and fail. So that's what people go look at it. A lot of times, I've always had this debate. I come with different ideas for different products. So certain people focus. Ira, how many deals do you have that worked? How many deals didn't work? I said, I don't know what worked and didn't work. I said, but thank God I'm standing here today with a company this size. This worked or didn't work. I'm not focusing on the failures. Focus on the aggregate value. Now, someone could tell me, well, if you didn't do that idea, you could have been further. I'd rather be in the boat where as a company, hit $3.5 billion. You could tell me I may have gone to $4 billion had I not done it the other way around. Not tried a different idea. And you never know the more it could go. Right now, I'm fine. But I can tell you one thing. Those same critics never thought I'd get to $3.5 billion. So don't tell me when I'm at $3.5 billion where I could have been to the $4 billion. But that's the same thing break down to you on a micro level. Why are you scared to tell someone, I'm going to be successful at? I'm going to make it. Because if you don't, what if? Part of why you're going to fail is because you're not putting yourself in a situation to fail. So you don't have pressure to deliver. But if you got made a public statement tomorrow and said, let me tell you something, I am going to be in the first year, give me a list of anyone ever produced in the first year, I'll be the number one from anyone in the first year of numbers. And if you don't, be a laughing stock. But you know something? Once you're successful, no one judges you could be even more successful. It's either you're going to make it or you're not going to make it. But by putting yourself out there, you're forcing yourself to be in that situation. I'm going to make it. You can take a total different approach when you call people up. Because you're not going to tolerate the same, not interested, I don't want to talk to you. All those things start going out the window as time goes on. It's a conviction that I'm going to make it. It's a conviction I'm going to prove that either I'm going to make it on my own or I'm going to make it because I want to prove the world wrong. Go out there and make a statement. What are you going to accomplish? What are you going to do? To the point that you could fail in those situations.
Spoke to someone who has skill structure and design, and I asked him how much he wants to develop it. Like, what are you looking to do and how much do you want? He's like, I'm not sure yet. Some sort of zone, kind of relying on your guidance and experience.
Okay. So, just repeat the question. Someone basically is amid some sort of construction project, and the question is, the broker asks the client, what do you want to do with it? What's your plan? The guy goes, I'm relying on your guidance. So the answer is to this person is, my guidance you're not relying on at this stage. My guidance is on step 2. You have to have a plan, then my guidance could critique the plan that you have. You have to create your own plan. Once you create your plan, then I could work on it afterward. I could fix things up accordingly. But until that point, I can't work on any plan for you. That's the level it's at. If a person using a lot of times the line's used by going to a doctor. They call a client that would say, what deal do you have on the table? Give me some more information. Nope. You're the broker? Tell it to me. Do you ever walk into the doctor and tell the doctor, I'm not feeling well. Tell me what's wrong. No, you get to the doctor. This problem, this, that. The doctor takes whatever he knows from before, whatever you're telling him, he tries to reconcile and come up with some sort of something and tell you. If someone's not leveling with you, they're not going to talk to you straight. Move on to the next person. That's you want to get things going. So
No, it wasn't straight. He was sitting on it.
So then you're waiting, and when you're ready, he's sitting there. But when you're ready to do something, tell me what you're planning on doing. I'll tell you if that works. And from there, I give you guidance. So you're not a developer. So say, would you like me to bring you a developer that will do that with you, a partner? It's a different discussion. That's not what you do primarily. Once you decide you want to do something, I can tell you if it's feasible and if it's financeable.
Is there a starting point for any type of financing before you do anything?
There's a starting point for anything. A piece of land gets financing. But the starting point is usually with a plan. My plan is to hold this land for the next 20 years because I think that the area is going to get developed around, and I'd rather sit and wait. And 20 years from now, I'll do something with it. So I have to go to a bank. Some bank would say, okay, he's holding it for 20 years. This guy's very wealthy. He only wants to borrow 30% of the value. I'll lend it to him. Others like, there's no plan to do something in the next 2 years. I don't want to just keep my money tied to land and everything in the middle. He has to have a starting point of a plan. I want to make I'm going to finish this now. I want to make this one tweak on the course's end of it. One is, that for these sessions, and we end up bringing it down to a half hour as time is going on, based on the questions that are coming, the practicality, because I'm seeing is that a lot of you are asking questions to other staff during the day that are naturally incorporating sales and real estate at the same time. So we'll bring this down to a half hour, number one. Number two, I'll stay longer if something comes on. We're saying about my target is to bring it down to a half hour. And then the second thing is just I see by the pace of the course itself is that it's not going to be that many more sessions finishing the course itself. You know, and based on it, and send out an email to everybody that you could, if there's certain topics you want specifically extra focused on, I'll have other people come in and just talk about those topics. You get a flavor of someone else talking of topics that maybe some of you want. But I think for the most part, not that many more days that the course itself will have to begin. Let's just a few more questions, and then we'll turn it on.
Based on what you were saying before, what is like a realistic but ambitious closing for first year? How much have people closed in the past?
So I actually had the numbers written. That it's not fully accurate because the report started when a person first did the first deal, so it doesn't count, you know, if it didn't work out. But we found that on portion-wise, I mean, if you did a deal, you split the deal with someone else, and then you get credit for half. But assuming you did the deal yourself, we found that people doubled for the first 3 years. They brought in $60,000 in the first 12 months. That means if they were at a 50% commission, keeping the numbers around, it starts with less, but steps up, but you'd make $30,000 the first year. It's somewhere between 50 and 60. I don't know the exact number. Go with 60, so call it 30,000. Year two went to 120 something, which basically doubled the money to that same. You brought yourself to make 60 that year, and the third year doubled again. And then from there is when everyone went off a whole different planet. Some people went up 30%, doubled again, but that's where it started plateauing because usually you kill yourself in the beginning. You're building a lot. You're planting a lot of seeds. Some of those seeds aren't relevant for 6 months and 9 months. So in the first year, it doesn't help you to close. But year two, they start coming together. And also, you know the business better. And there's also many clients who like you, but they're not going to start with you because they think you'll be out of the business in the first year. Once you get 2 years or 3 years, oh, you're here to stay. That's what builds up from that point on. The math, though, internally in the office over here is that they end up giving people draws against commission, what I call the if and the when. So when I meet you, let's say we're hiring you, it's if you're going to be successful. So while it's an if, I'm not investing money. I'll put time, resources, support staff to help you. The minute it becomes a when you're going to be successful, I don't mind advancing you the money against it at some ratio. So even though if you made only $30,000 year one, but that's probably because for the first few months you did one deal and a gap for a bunch of months. But once you're getting towards the end of the first month, you're probably towards the end of the first year, you're probably on pace already to be earning $60,000. You're probably earning about $5,000 a month at that point and growing. So I don't have an issue at that point going from $5,000 and then start giving you an advance every month of $3,000, let's say. So as we know, it's a matter of time. It's going to sure happen. I don't mind advancing it. There are brokers in the office over here that are taking $20,000 a month. That's the only way part of this business to live normally is to be able to have enough money every month to live in the ballpark of your lifestyle, but still is enough that you get a check when a deal closes, and then as you're being more successful. Because if you have to worry about cash flow while you're doing this business, it's almost impossible. Tough enough as it is, and that's the way that the game goes in. Just don't Israel to not closing it.
I just feel we don't want to ask on the first course ever. How many say that we leave them? Sales like maybe we should take part of this night for it or.
Fine. So that's a good point. So I could go with. So I could set up. I'll set up then on Thursday because I'm not going to be a Thursday in the afternoon. I'll set up on Thursday. Someone to be in here, real estate question and answers in the afternoon. So you put your questions together. Like early, we'll go something like that. So I'll set that up according.
Our syndicator that we were discussing earlier, all the syndicator you were discussing, when they make only the $1200, if they don't put any of their own money in the actual deal.
Correct. So they put money in there.
They get
exactly the same.
Same preferred. They get the same.
They are that other person.
They're the same as Alpine.
The money's even. They are an LP in their own deal.
Right.
But usually, most syndicators that are starting out relatively new don't put in their own money. Barely anything. That's the whole deal.
They run around and they shop the deal.
They worked on finding a deal. They kill themselves. They found the deal, and then they're going to work it and they raise money for it. But on the other hand, they lose that even more because they don't get 30% of the deal. 20, probably get 15%. Because some of the money says you have no experience. All me. You can't out putting money yourself. They beat them up that way. So usually in the first 1 or 2 deals, he makes nothing, and that's when he starts to right. And he starts to.
But you were saying about preferred return that once you have the money out, you could give it back. So that's. I'm sure it could be done differently, but that's the norm, I guess. In other words, could the investor say, no, I want my money, I always want my preferred return. I don't want my money given back to me.
So wait, close as well.
What are you saying?
The investor doesn't have the ability to say, I don't want my money back. there's agreement day one, how it works. If he wants to make a change to the agreement, he won't change the agreement, he'll agree to something up front, but that's the way it works. This is how distribution works. The first money is called this, the second money is called this, it splits like this, going forward like this, that's the agreed upon. I'm telling you the typical deal, how it's done. The typical deal is done this way with what they call a waterfall. The waterfall means that many times, as the return gets better and better, the syndicator gets to get himself a bigger piece of the deal to go ahead and get things better.
Is there any way